Hello guys, please follow my Facebook page. I'd really appreciate it. So in this video, I tried using Akai, who I think just got a buff. Though we all know that damage junglers are the current meta, and utility junglers are kind of being left behind, I still feel like Akai is viable. He can definitely keep up with the meta junglers because he actually counters most of them. And as long as you give him a good lineup, he's still really effective. What's great about Akai is how solid he is at securing the turtle and lord. But this hero only really shines in certain lineups, like when your EXP laner deals damage or your roamer is a support. Because most of the time, players don't really care about team composition. For example, someone might pick Estes or Rafaela even if your jungler is a fast assassin, which doesn't make sense because they won't be able to keep up with healing. That's why healers like those are better paired with utility junglers like Fredrin or Akai, or at least your EXP laner should be tanky. In my opinion, the only healer that can keep up with assassin junglers is Angela because of her ultimate. Florin can work too, but you won't really maximize her healing potential. And your chances of winning are definitely higher when your lineup has a front line. It's really tough when everyone on your team is a damage dealer and your roamer isn't tanky. It's hard to win with that kind of lineup, especially if your team and the enemy are equally skilled. So if your roamer happens to be a healer, it's generally a better choice to go for a utility jungler instead of an assassin, so you'll have a front line and can maximize the healing your roamer provides. Your mid lane and gold lane should always be damage dealers, since that's where most of your team's damage will come from. And most of the time, that's enough. As long as they're set up properly and supported, ideally the best lineup right now consists of 2 frontliners and 3 damage dealers. This is one of the best things about Akai. If you're able to maximize his ultimate, you can either push the enemy toward your teammates or pin them against a wall to keep them from moving. And he can counter almost all assassins as long as he manages to pin them or knock them away from your allies. Though there are some assassins that are really hard to catch, they'll still be more cautious and uncomfortable getting close when Akai is around. By the way, in this game, I ended up using Bloody Retribution, which is the default for Akai, and I forgot to change it. But I think Ice Retribution is actually better for him, since it's the best Retribution at the moment.
6, 7 days. Hey, we're missing a candle.
What I like about tanky heroes is that they can easily adjust their build and counter the enemy just through itemization. Like in this match, 3 of the enemies dealt magic damage. So I prioritized building magic defense items. Almost all of my items were magic defense. Then in the late game, I started building physical defense since Melissa was their only physical damage dealer, and her power spike comes late. I built blade armor, which literally counters her. Not only does it reflect damage, but it also reduces critical damage, which is great since she went for a crit build. Good thing she didn't build Demon Hunter Sword, because that item is a nightmare for high HP heroes like Akai.
Forget the haters. We're still the best there is.
I was actually surprised here because Blade Armor's reflected damage to Melissa was really strong, and it quickly drained her HP. I didn't expect that, so I kind of overdid it by using my ultimate on her, which turned out unnecessary since her HP suddenly dropped fast even though she was the one attacking me. Here the enemies were basically auditioning, and of course we entertained them one by one. It's called an audition because the enemies came in one at a time, just like how in an audition people take turns stepping onto the stage. We finally got the Lord here, and the enemies didn't contest anymore. They might have still gotten it because I'd been off with the timing of my retribution throughout the game. And what I can say about utility junglers is that they're still really solid, like I mentioned earlier, as long as your team has a good hero composition and you don't go overboard with tanky heroes. Not all utility heroes can farm efficiently, only a few can, like Akai, who farms a bit faster because of his passive, Baxia, who has an unlimited second skill when farming, and Fredrin, who was recently buffed with increased damage to jungle creeps. They do struggle a bit when it comes to taking the Lord since its damage is HP based, and they can't really tank that damage well, especially since they don't have lifesteal. but I think Fredrin can still handle it because he can regenerate health. If you're going to use Akai, you should also check the enemy's lineup, especially their mage and marksman. For example, if they have Valir, don't pick Akai. Or if their marksman's main item is Demon Hunter Sword, it's better not to pick Akai either, unless you want to have a tough time in the game. So yeah, we won this game, and honestly, I really enjoyed using him. Even though I struggled a bit during the first few minutes since it's been almost 2 years since the last time I played this hero. But he's still really solid to use now, especially against assassin junglers. In the next game, I used him in the EXP lane, and my matchup was Yujin. Yujin has the advantage in extended fights, but if I just poke him and back off, I can still manage. But what I ended up doing was cutting the lane instead, since I knew I couldn't kill Yujin on my own. I was more useful by rotating and helping my teammates. The strongest enemy in that game was Alucard, but we all know that Akai is a counter to him. He's also easier to pin against a wall compared to assassins who are much faster. Sometimes it's a bit hard to pin enemies against the wall, so most of the time what I do instead is push them toward my teammates. Just make sure you don't mess up and push the enemy away by mistake. In that moment, Kimmy just had Flicker, and Wanwan had her second skill, but 2 enemies still ended up dying, so it was all good in the end.
Forget the haters! The madness never stops!
So the enemy got the Lord here, but 4 of them were already dead. I was a bit confused at that moment because I didn't know whether to focus on the Lord or protect our backlines. Sometimes, even if you get a good setup, it doesn't matter if your damage dealers aren't able to follow up. That's why I often adjust and avoid overextending. I actually managed to set up on Wanwan here, even though she had her second skill. I had been trying to do that several times earlier, but was having a hard time pulling it off, though I knew Akai could do it. Wanwan got taken down, and what's funny is that Beatrix got so scared of Alucard that she wasted her flicker. We were really at a disadvantage here. The enemy team was zoning us out hard. The strength of Estes is really in letting the enemies come to you, especially when your whole team is grouped up. That's when Estes shines the most. But the problem was, the enemy's setup actually worked better when we were grouped together too, since most of their skills were AoE.